Elliot Vance never imagined he would stand in the royal court of an alien queen. He was a simple linguist, a language expert from Earth, hired by the Galactic Peace Envoy for translation work. He was not a soldier, not a diplomat, and definitely not someone meant for public ceremonies. Yet here he was, standing awkwardly under a massive crystal dome, in the center of the galaxy's most beautiful and powerful kingdom. The world of Valeria sparkled like diamond. Its buildings were tall, glowing towers shaped like flowers. Its skies were always golden, lit by 3 small suns. Elliot had studied hundreds of alien languages, but nothing prepared him for the silent language of light the Valorians used. Queen Lysara sat on her throne made of glowing glass, high above the floor. She wore a dress of living silk that shimmered with every breath. Her skin glowed softly, like moonlight on water. She was known across the stars as the most beautiful queen in the galaxy, and she was looking at him. Elliot shifted his weight. He wasn't supposed to be here. His original job was to review translation devices before the ceremony. But due to a mix-up, probably an error in the roster, his name had been added to the list of official human delegates. No one noticed until the moment the ceremonial greeting began. Now, he stood among ambassadors from all corners of the galaxy, all of them dressed in polished robes, speaking in perfect diplomatic tones. Elliot wore his plain gray uniform and had barely spoken a word since arriving. A soft chime rang across the chamber. The queen stood. Everyone went silent. "It is time." Her voice echoed in dozens of languages at once. For the ritual of recognition. Elliot had read about this tradition. The queen would perform a psycholuminal scanna, kind of emotional light reading on each guest. It was an old Valorian tradition. By observing how another being's energy reflected her light, the queen could judge their truth, their soul. One by one, the guests stepped forward. A beam of soft light passed between the queen and each delegate. The light changed color and tone, a silent conversation of emotions and intentions. Then the guest would bow and step away. When it was Elliot's turn, he hesitated. "I'm not supposed to be stepped forward," a guard said politely. But firmly, Elliot did. He walked slowly to the center of the glowing platform. The queen's eyes met his. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the light came. A soft beam reached out. From her chest, touching his, he felt something, warmth like sunlight on his face, but from the inside. His heart beat faster. His thoughts ran wild. Don't mess this up. Smile. Nod. Back away. Don't trip. Don't. Suddenly the light pulsed. Bright, strong. It flashed in colors he had no words for. The room gasped. The queen's eyes widened. Her lips parted slightly. She stepped down from her throne. She began, her voice soft and almost unsure. Then she said it clearly, loudly, to the entire court. "This man is my mate." Silence fell like a hammer. Elliot blinked. He looked left, right. Surely she was pointing at someone else. No, she was looking straight at him. "Sorry, what?" Elliot asked aloud, too shocked to care about protocol. The room erupted in whispers, gasps, and the humming sound of alien confusion. A dozen diplomats activated their translation devices again, double-checking what they'd heard. The queen stepped closer to Elliot. "In our culture," she said softly, "only to him, this is not said lightly. The bond is real. It is ancient. And ... you are the cause." Elliot's brain screamed. "What cause? What bond? I just showed up. I didn't even brush my hair." "I think there's been a mistake," he whispered. "No," Lysara replied. "Your light matched mine perfectly. I have waited a long time to feel that. Our kind used to bond with emotion, but we lost that ability ages ago. We became cold, logical. You have reignited something lost." Elliot stepped back. "I'm just a translator. You are more," she said. "You felt something, didn't you?" He opened his mouth, closed it. He had felt something. That warmth, that sudden rush. But it made no sense. From the balcony, a Velarian council member stepped forward. Your Majesty, this declaration is highly irregular. Interspecies mating, especially with a human, is unprecedented. Lysara turned to face the court. I have spoken. The bond is true. Elliot raised a finger. Do I get a say in this? Another voice deep, metallic from across the room. An alien ambassador from the Dovarn Empire stood. This changes everything. If the Velarian queen mates with a human, what does that mean for future alliances? Treaties, species rankings? The chamber grew louder. Arguments broke out. Elliot felt like sinking through the floor. He leaned toward Lysara. Are you sure? I mean, I'm flattered, obviously, but I'm nobody. You're not nobody. She said calmly. You are a human. Your kind is new to the stars, yet you feel more than most species ever dared. That is rare and beautiful. Elliot swallowed. Beautiful. No one had ever called him that before. Just then, a small hover drone floated down to record the scene. Elliot stepped back from it, but Lysara placed a hand gently on his shoulder. She didn't pull him close. She didn't force anything. She just stood beside him, her glow now softer. Warmer. You do not have to accept now, she said kindly. But the bond is real. The stars will not forget this moment. Looked at her, really looked, not as a queen, not as the most beautiful woman in the galaxy, but as someone who seemed genuinely curious about him. Not about Earth, not about what he represented, but him. And for a moment, he didn't feel like a mistake in the room. He felt seen. The court called for a recess. The Queen's advisors moved in, whispering urgently. Elliot was guided away by a gentle servant to a private chamber, still in shock. Later, as he sat on a floating cushion, sipping a drink he couldn't pronounce, he whispered to himself, what the hell just happened? Elliot Vance sat in a silver room that smelled like warm flowers. The walls glowed gently. The chair beneath him floated a few inches above the floor. Everything was soft, smooth, and far too fancy for a man who still didn't understand why the queen of an alien empire had chosen him as her mate. He hadn't eaten. He hadn't slept. His brain kept playing the moment again and again. This man is my mate. No warning. No build-up. Just like that. One scan of light, and now everyone in the galaxy knew his name. A voice broke his thoughts. Human Elliot, said a soft-toned woman in a glowing silver robe. She was one of Queen Lysara's advisors. Please come with me. The Queen requests your presence in the Garden of Glass. Elliot stood slowly. Am I under arrest? No, she said with a small smile. But you are... under attention. Sighed, that didn't sound better. The Garden of Glass. Queen Lysara stood beneath a crystal tree with rainbow leaves. The garden shimmered in the starlight, and the floor beneath them was see-through, showing the clouds far below. It felt like standing on heaven. She turned when she saw him. Thank you for coming. Elliot rubbed the back of his neck. It's like I had a choice. She smiled gently. You always have a choice. They stood in silence for a moment. A glowing bird flew past. Elliot finally asked, Why me? I told you before. Your emotional energy matched mine. Perfectly. That has not happened for thousands of years. We Velarians have lost much of what makes us alive. You made something inside me wake up. I'm just a guy who reads languages, he said. Perhaps. That's exactly why, she replied. You listen, you learn. You feel. Elliot sat on a crystal bench. Okay, let's say this is real. What does that mean now? Lysara's smile faded slightly. It means you are in danger. The trouble with power back inside the royal palace, hidden rooms buzzed with activity. The Queen's Council, 10 ancient Velarians who served as advisors, were not happy. He is human, one hissed. They are new, weak, emotional. Are wild, another added. Unpredictable. A union with him will make us look foolish to the elder races. He's not even royal. It's not even important. But one advisor, a short older woman named Sorrel, raised her voice. He is exactly what we need. Our people have grown too cold, too distant. He may be our only chance to become whole again. The others glared at her. but no one argued. The offer later that night, Elliot was brought to a quiet room with dark walls. 3 members of the council were waiting. One of them spoke quickly. "We mean no harm. But you must understand this bond is dangerous, politically, socially, even spiritually," another added. "We offer you a way out. Quietly, you will leave this world with full honors, gifts, even land back on Earth. But you must say the bond was an error." Elliot frowned. "You want me to lie? You want peace," the third said. "And peace means keeping things the way they are," Elliot thought for a long time. Then he said, "I'll talk to Lysara." The council exchanged glances. "He may be more trouble than we thought," one whispered. Talking with the Queen, Elliot returned to the garden, where Lysara was waiting again. She looked tired but calm. "They want me to leave," he said. "Say it was all a mistake." "I know," she replied. "Why are they so afraid of me?" She looked up at the stars. "Because you make me feel. And if the Queen feels, then maybe everyone else will remember how to feel too. I would change everything." Elliot sat beside her. "I didn't mean to start a revolution." Lysara turned to him. "Would you still stay, knowing that you are now at the center of everything?"
Elliot
didn't answer right away. His thoughts were heavy. "I don't know yet," he said. "But I'm not running." People's reaction news of the Queen's declaration spread fast across the galaxy. On Valeria, people were confused, curious, angry, excited. For centuries, love had been something from history books. Emotion was seen as weakness. Now, everyone was talking about it again. Some young Valerians started writing poems. Others shared dreams they'd hidden for years. Couples began holding hands in public again. Of course, not everyone was happy. Protests began in the outer cities. Alien allies sent angry messages. One powerful species, the Ichord Dominion, threatened to break off trade, but many others watched with wonder. If the most emotionless race in the galaxy could fall in love, maybe others could too. A message from Earth Yoyet finally received a secure call from Earth. His supervisor, Director Han, looked both shocked and impressed. "You really did it, huh?" "I didn't do anything," Elliot said. "I stood still and glowed." Han chuckled. "The entire galaxy's talking about Earth now. Everyone wants to know what makes humans so emotionally ... intense. Is that good? It's attention. What you do next could define humanity's role in galactic politics. Be careful." Elliot ended the call, feeling even more confused. He came to space to study language. Now, it was a symbol of change. A night of truth one evening, Elliot was invited to a private dinner with Lysara, just the two of them. No guards, no cameras. She wore a simple silver gown. He wore the only clean uniform. He had left. They sat across from each other. Soft music played from the walls. "Have you ever been in love?" she asked. Elliot hesitated. "Once, a long time ago." But she didn't feel the same. Lysara nodded. "I've never been allowed to feel anything, not real things. Duty was my only companion." She reached across the table. He took her hand. "No. Glowing light this time? It's just warmth." "I'm still scared," Elliot said. "So am I," she replied. They smiled. The Queen's decision the next day. The Queen addressed the public. "I have heard your fears," she said. "I have seen your protests. But I have also seen something else. Emotion, joy, wonder. Things we thought lost." She paused. "I do not ask you to follow me into love. I ask you to let me walk that path, to explore what we lost, to remember who we were." Many wept. Some walked out, but most stayed and listened. The final words of the chapter. Elliot stood behind her during the speech, quiet, watching afterwards. A Valorian child approached him. "Is it true?" the child asked. "That you made the Queen feel?" Elliot knelt and smiled. "I think... maybe she made me feel first." The child smiled back and ran off. And for the first time since arriving, Elliot didn't feel like a mistake. He felt like part of something bigger, something new, something human. The sunless skies of Valeria darkened with unrest. What began as a Spark Queen Lysera's public declaration that a human man, Vance, was her mate was now becoming a fire that no one could control. The galaxy was watching. The council was whispering. And Elliot was under trial. Not a trial in court. Not a trial with lawyers. But something older. Something deeper. The trial of sincerity. The ancient Testans, sighed the Hall of Thought. One of the oldest temples on Valeria, a group of robed judges prepared the chamber. No weapons, no lies, no escape. The trial of sincerity had not been used in over 2,000 years. It was designed to test the truth of one's heart not by speech or logic, but by feeling. It is a sacred ritual, Queen Lysera explained to Elliot the night before. If you pass, the bond between us will be officially accepted by Valeria's deepest traditions. If you fail, it will be broken, and you will be sent home. Elliot leaned back in his seat, his head spinning. Great. Just what I needed. An emotional space exam. Lysera placed her hand gently over his. You won't be alone. I'll go through it too. The trial tests both of us. Elliot stared at her for a long moment. And if we feel different things? Galaxy divided while preparations began, the news of the trial spread like wildfire. Across the stars, different species made their own guesses. He's faking it, said the Icor Dominion. The Queen is under human influence. They are in love, said a peaceful race called the Lanari. Let them be. On Earth, Elliot's parents were interviewed on every channel. He was always emotional, said his mother proudly. He cried at movies. Even cartoons, his father added. We always knew he'd do something big. We didn't expect this big. The trial begins. Hall of Thought was quiet. There's no audience. Just the Queen, Elliot, and the judges of Emotion 3 ancient Valorians who had mastered emotional reading. Each judge wore a different color, blue for calm, red for passion, and silver for truth. The lead judge stepped forward. You will now enter the mirror light. A white circle of glowing energy appeared on the floor, pulsed gently. Lysera stepped into the circle first. Elliot followed. Suddenly, the room dimmed. The walls disappeared. They were standing in a world of light and memory floating through thoughts, emotions, and feelings like mist. The trial had begun. Inside Elliot's mind, at first Elliot saw flashes of his childhood. His mother brushing his hair, his first heartbreak in school, his quiet university nights filled with books and stargazing. Then he saw the moment he met Lysera. The way her light had touched him, the rush in his chest, the warmth, but then came doubt. Why me? She's a queen. I'm a nobody. What if I'm just a symbol to her? What if it's not real? The circle around him dimmed slightly. One of the judges raised an eyebrow. Inside Lysera's mind at the same time, Lysera was being tested in her own memories. She saw herself as a child, taught never to cry, never to laugh too loud. She had been trained to rule, not to feel. Then she saw Elliot, talkward, honest, human. She remembered how his emotions had touched her like fire to ice. He didn't try to impress her, didn't try to control her. He simply was. But then, feared if I allow this, will my people see me as weak? Am I giving up tradition for feeling? What if this ends in pain? The light around her flickered. One of the judges leaned forward. The mirror moment suddenly. Elliot and Lysera were pulled together in the center of the mirror light. A shared space, a shared truth. A voice old and deep spoke from nowhere and everywhere. Do you trust her? Elliot looked at Lysera. Yes. Her eyes glowed, not with light, but with raw emotion. Not perfection, not power, just realness. I do, he said softly. Do you love him? The voice asked Lysera. She stepped closer. I don't fully understand love, but when I'm near him, I feel alive, curious, brave. I want to learn, with him. The mirror light pulsed brightly, the judge's verdict back in the real world. The light faded, the hall returned. Elliot felt dizzy. Lysera held his hand to steady him. The three judges stood. Their robes glowed brighter than before. The judge of truth spoke first. The human has doubts, but he does not lie. His emotions are honest even when he fears. The judge of passion added, the queen feels deeply. Her soul is touched, though. Unfamiliar with the path ahead, judge of calm finished. They are not perfect, but they are sincere. Then all three spoke in one voice. The bond is real. A celebration and chaos news spread instantly. The queen and the human had passed. The trial of sincerity. On Valeria, bells rang across the cities. Lights danced in the skies. For the first time in centuries, music filled the royal plaza. Aliens from peaceful worlds sent gifts and messages of support. Earth's leaders sent an official message. We honor this union as a symbol of trust and unity. But not all were happy. In the shadows of the Valerian capital, dark figure sent a private message to an unknown fleet. They passed the trial. Proceed with Phase 2. The quiet before the storm. Later that night, Elliot and Lysara sat alone in a quiet tower, looking out at the stars. I thought the trial would tear me apart, Elliot said. You held together, Lysara said. Even with your fears, still don't feel like a hero, he admitted. She looked at him with warmth. That's because you're human. They laughed softly. But far above them, something dark moved through space. Ships, silent, invisible. Trouble was coming, and their story was far from over. Darkness moved in silence. Far beyond the shining cities of Valeria, in the empty corners of space, dozens of warships floated like shadows. Their surface reflected no light. They were painted with a special coating that made them almost invisible. These ships did not carry flags. They did not answer signals. They were not part of any known alliance. But they had one mission: break the bond. End the queen. Silence the human. At the center of the fleet stood the main vessel, massive, shaped like a black spear. Inside, a figure watched a hologram of Queen Lysara and Elliot Vance standing together. Emotion, the figure said coldly. It makes leaders weak. Let's remind the galaxy what power truly looks like. A day of peace back on Valeria. No one knew what was coming. Queen Lysara had declared a celebration across her empire. The trial of sincerity was complete, and the people had accepted the human bond. For the first time in hundreds of years, there was laughter in the royal court, music in the gardens, light in the skies. Elliot wore a ceremonial robe. It felt strange, like being wrapped in curtains. But Lysara smiled when she saw him. You look like someone from the ancient stories, she said, stepping beside him. And you still look like someone who should be in a dream, he replied. The queen blushed, something Valerians rarely did. Whispers of worry even as the empire celebrated. Queen Lysara's most loyal advisor, Sorel, remained tense. There has been strange movement along the borders, she told the queen in private. Ships disappearing, satellites going offline. You think it's the I-Cord Dominion? Lysara asked. No, Sorel said. The I-Cord may dislike the bond, but they are proud, loud. This feels ... secret, old. The queen nodded. Prepare our defenses. Quietly. I don't want to spread panic. Elliot walked in just as Sorel left. He noticed the worry on Lysara's face. Bad news? He asked. She forced a soft smile. It's just a feeling. Nothing we can't handle. But deep inside, she knew something was coming. The first strike, the attack began in the dark of night. A communications tower on Valeria's moon exploded without warning. Then a defense station in orbit went silent. Within minutes, the invisible fleet uncloaked, revealing ships armed with advanced weapons no one had seen before. Alarms screamed through the royal city. Elliot was woken by the sound of guards rushing. Outside his room, he jumped out of bed and opened the window. The sky was glowing red. Lysara, he shouted, running toward the main hall. She met him at the gate, already dressed in armor made of glowing metal. We're under attack, she said. I need you to go to the safe chamber. No, Elliot said. I'm not running. Not again. She looked into his eyes and knew she couldn't argue. Not this time. The unseen enemy, as the enemy ships rained down laser fire, Valerian. Defense forces tried to respond. The attackers were strange fast, silent, coordinated. They didn't speak, didn't broadcast demands. They only attacked the palace. Their goal was clear. Elliot and Lysara. A wave of drones broke into the palace. Guards fought bravely, but were overwhelmed. Elliot grabbed a fallen blaster he had trained during his time on Valeria, but never thought he'd use it. Lysara stood beside him, a sword of light in her hand. She fought with precision, like she had done it 1,000 times. Elliot's heart raced, but he stayed close. Why are they only after us? Elliot shouted. They want to destroy the symbol we've become, Lysara answered, cutting through. A drone. The hidden betrayers, they ran through the palace toward the emergency command room. Sorrel met them halfway. She was bleeding, but still strong. Your Majesty, she gasped. There's something you must know. Someone gave the enemy access codes. Traitor from inside the council. Lysara's face tightened. Who? Before Sorrel could answer, a blaster shot hit her shoulder. She fell, and Elliot dragged her behind cover. Lysara returned fire with blazing speed. Get her to the med bay. She ordered 2 guards, who arrived seconds later. Elliot and Lysara pressed on. Somewhere in the shadows, someone they trusted had opened the door to war. The power of the bond, they finally reached the control chamber, deep beneath the palace. It was protected by old tech, connected to the main systems, and touched by modern corruption. Lysara placed her hand on a glowing stone. It's unlocking the chamber. Inside, ancient weapons powered up, humming with forgotten energy. It was a last defense system from Valeria's golden age. I didn't know this existed, Elliot said. Few do, Lysara replied, but I hoped we'd never need it. Just then the walls shook. Enemy ships were landing. As Lysara prepared the systems, Elliot stood still, focusing. His body trembled, but not with fear, with purpose. Suddenly, the same energy that had connected him to Lysara during the first bond test returned. Light surrounded his hands. The control panel responded to him, just as it had to the Queen. Lysara turned in surprise. You're linked to the system? I think it recognizes emotion. The bond. Together, their hands moved over the controls. The ancient defense grid activated. Above the palace, powerful beams of light burst from hidden towers. Enemy ships were hit and fell burning through the clouds. For the first time, the attackers fell back. The mask is removed. One ship crashed near the palace, and the pilot crawled out injured but alive. Valerian soldiers captured him and brought him before Lysara and Elliot. When his helmet was removed, everyone gasped. He was Valerian, one of their own. Why? Lysara asked, voice shaking. Why betray your people? The prisoner smirked. We were once proud, cold, strong. Then you let emotion weaken our rule. You poisoned our bloodline with this human. Elliot stepped forward. You're afraid? Of change? You're not one of us, the man hissed. You never will be. I don't have to be, Elliot replied calmly. I'm just someone who loves her, and she chose to feel. That's her strength, not her weakness. The prisoner was taken away, but his words left a shadow. The aftermath: after many hours, the attack was stopped. Most of the enemy fleet was destroyed. The traitors on the council were identified and removed. Sorrel survived and surrendered to the Queen's side. The people of Valeria, watching from screens across the world, saw Elliot and Lysara fighting side by side. Not as ruler and servant, but as equals, as protectors of a new future. Something changed in them. The emotion they had feared for so long no longer felt like a threat. It felt like hope. A moment of peace later, as the sun finally rose over Valeria. Elliot and Lysara stood on the highest balcony, watching the light touch the ruins and the flowers alike. Elliot was bruised, tired, and missing one shoe. Lysara leaned against him, Her armor cracked. "You still want to do this?" Elliot asked, joking. She turned. From the story, the most beautiful queen in the galaxy said, "This man is my mate," and he was stunned. Word count, approximately 1500 style, third person. Simple English, emotional and powerful asterisk. Valeria was healing. The skies were calm. The enemy was defeated. Traitors had been caught, and the ancient defense systems had protected the capital. But peace did not mean the journey was over. In fact, it was only the beginning. A new dawn, Queen Lysara stood on the balcony of the royal tower, looking out at her planet. The golden sun rose over the city's tall spires and soft blue gardens. Light danced over the glass streets, where people gathered again, this time not in fear, but in celebration. Behind her, Elliot Vance stepped quietly into the room. He didn't wear royal clothes. It's just his usual Earth-style shirt and simple jacket. Still awkward, still real. Lysara turned and smiled.
"You're up early."
"I couldn't sleep," Elliot replied. "No, too many thoughts." "Same here," she said softly. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Elliot asked the question they were both avoiding. "What now?" Voices from every star the galaxy was watching. After the attack and the truth of betrayal inside the Valerian Council, many worlds wanted change. The story of Lysara and Elliot had spread to every system. A powerful queen choosing a human mate, a human standing beside her in battle. A bond made not from power but from feeling. It was unheard of and unforgettable. Some planets saw it as hope, others saw it as danger. The United Galactic Assembly called for a Samhita meeting of all major species to decide the future of interstellar law, including bonds between species, royal unions, and emotional rule. And they wanted Lysara and Elliot there. The crowns wait the night before their journey to the summit. Lysara sat alone in the royal chamber. In front of her was the crown of suns, the ancient symbol of Valerian rule. It was heavy, not just in weight, but in meaning. To keep it, she had to follow tradition. She had to rule without feeling, without question, without personal ties. But she had already broken that rule. She had chosen. Elliot, she had chosen love. Sorrel entered the chamber quietly. Her wounds were healing, and her loyalty had never wavered. "You're thinking about giving it up?" she said gently. "I have to," Lysara whispered. "If I want to build a new future with him, I cannot rule the old way." Sorrel nodded. "Then perhaps it's time the crown changed too." The summit of stars. The summit was held on a neutral planet, high in the orbit of a blue star. Was called Luma Prime, where war was forbidden. Words were the only weapons. Leaders from all over the galaxy sat in a great circular hall. Aliens with glowing skin, floating eyes, and voices like wind gathered beside armored generals and cloaked priests. At the center of the room stood Queen Lysara and Elliot Vance. Many stared. Some smiled. Some frowned. A tall, silver-skinned ambassador stood first. "Queen Lysara," he said, "you bring a human into this sacred chamber." "Why?" She looked around the hall. "Because he is not just a human. He is my chosen mate." "Equal, my friend." Murmurs filled the air. Another leader stood, general from the I-Corps Dominion. "Love is weakness," he growled. "Emotion is chaos. Will you give up your crown for this human?" Lysara stepped forward. "Yes," she said. "Clearly. If the crown demands that I rule without feeling, then I give it up." Gasps echoed around the chamber. Elliot's eyes widened. "Lysara." She looked at him and smiled. "I don't need a throne to stand beside you." A choice made, but then something unexpected happened. An old alien priest, with white vines growing from his shoulders, stood slowly. "I have studied the history of Valeria," he said, "and I believe the queen is misunderstood." Everyone turned to him. The crown of suns was never meant to block emotion. It was meant to balance it. Over the years, leaders changed its meaning. The first queen, long ago, ruled with both mind and heart. The hall went silent. Sorrel stepped forward and added, "I found records that confirm it." The law was rewritten not by tradition, but by fear. Elliot looked at Lysara, stunned. "So, you can be both." She nodded slowly, tears forming in her eyes. "Yes, I can be queen, and I can be yours. The hall erupted with voices, but this time, they weren't angry, they were cheering. A new rule begins back on Valeria. A new ceremony was held. Not a wedding, not a coronation. Something new. Lysera placed the crown of suns on her head, not alone, but with Elliot beside her, holding her hand. The people didn't kneel. They stood, shoulder to shoulder, as one voice. For the first time, Valeria's ruler was not above them, but among them, Elliot was not made king. That title didn't matter to him, but he was called something else. The heart of the queen. Symbol, a partner, reminder that power without feeling is cold, and love without strength is fragile. But together, they can lead galaxies. 1 year later, year passed. Peace spread. Other rulers began choosing their partners based on connection, not politics. Trade grew, borders softened. Even Earth and Valeria formed a joint academy to teach leadership with empathy. Elliot stood in a garden, now fully adjusted to alien life. He was still sarcastic, still curious, still human, and still hers. Lysera walked toward him, holding a small crystal that glowed faintly. "We have a new message from Earth," she said. "Another interview request." Elliot groaned. "No," she smiled. "An award. They want to call us Galactic Peace Ambassadors." He raised an eyebrow. "Sounds fancy." She stepped closer. "We don't need a title, just each other." They kissed under the twin moons. No throne, no command. Just love. Just choice, just them.